On this episode of the Ocean Cruisers podcast, I'm having a chat with Dan and Kika from Sailing Uma. Dan and Kika have pioneered electric propulsion ever since they first started cruising. At first using a forklift motor, then moving on to an ocean bolt system, and they're now going for an improved electric twin motor setup. They've been cruising full time for 9 years and have fine-tuned their cruising style to suit their boat perfectly. A little bit of new school with electric propulsion, but also traditional from the perspective of mostly using their sails as a primary source for travel and only using the motors for entering and leaving ports. They've refit their boat multiple times whilst being on the go and cruising, but are now in a full major refit, basically stripping the boat down to fiberglass and starting from scratch in order to build the ideal space for them. If you want to come sailing with Dan and Kika for a week, the Odyssey Sailing Festival in the BVI 2025 will start on April the 1st, and the cabins are now available for sale. The Odyssey Sailing Festival is a week-long party on a fleet of incredible catamarans with a group of legendary skippers at the helms. We do regattas, beach parties, raft-ups, and basically experience everything the cruising life has to offer. For the 2025 Odyssey Sailing Festival, the skippers are Dan and Kika, Keanu Wilt Zane, Dustin Reynolds, Glenn Shepherd, Lauren Landers, Erica and Warren, Raf and Sash, Eric the Viking, Holly Martin, Ian and Briony, and Laura Decker. If you'd like to book a cabin or a berth, visit theoceancruisers.com/odyssey for more information, or email andy@theoceancruisers.com directly to book. But for now, enjoy the podcast with Dan and Kika.
I was actually I was thinking about the last podcast we did, and I was like, it was a year ago actually. I think it was like, well, no, just more. It's like November or something.
Yeah, it was right before the last Odyssey Festival.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was just before
not
that.
the last one, the one before. The first
Yeah, the one before that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we sped through two of them. But yeah, I was just thinking about the amount of work that you've actually done to your boat, and it's incredible that you're actually still doing the work to that boat as well.
Yeah, it's taking time. We keep getting distracted by podcasts and sailing festivals.
And boat shows and sailing on other boats as well, actually, because since then you've actually been sailing on quite a few other cool boats.
Yeah, it's been a long process, but obviously it's not just a refit. It's like doing everything new and planning it all takes forever, and then also filming it and editing it takes forever, and then we're not in a tent, so every time it rains we get delayed, and yeah, it's a whole thing, and then everything else we have going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Plus, we live in a truck, so that's another full-time job.
You live in the Defender?
Yeah, full-time.
It's been like a year and a half living out of that truck.
Yeah. We built the interior now.
They're very expensive in the summer. Like in the winter, we could.
Oh, in the summer. Yeah.
In the summer, like apartments within decent driving distance of the shipyard are at least $1,000 a month, and in the summer they go up to like $10,000 a month for like June, July, August, September. It's insane. Yeah. That's why we were just like, we'll just live out of a truck, because we'd rather put that $1,000 a month back into the boat than
back into the boat for sure.
Apartment. Yeah.
So between everything that we own, we have a full apartment. It's just very far apart from each other. So we have the boat, we have the truck to sleep in, and then we have a storage unit for our stuff.
And then we have this container.
And then we have the container.
And the shipyard actually has a shower that we had to make a shower curtain for, because nobody's ever used it before.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of places to sleep.
I mean,
we don't sleep in any of them except the truck. Yeah. I mean, this is full of fiberglass dust. We can't sleep in here. And the boat's full of fiberglass dust, and the storage unit's too small. We're not that homeless to sleep in a storage unit. We sleep in a truck.
The storage unit wouldn't be that bad. If you insulated it out, you could you could make quite a nice little spot in there.
The problem with our storage unit is that at night there's about 4 to 5 bands that come to practice in their storage units
at the same time.
Oh, no way.
It's like complete and utter chaos in there from like 6 to midnight. We can't go in there. It's wild.
That's a really good idea on their part, though. So, like, what? This is like a storage area, because like smashing drums out is a bit of a pain in the
It's
arse
like a proper
house.
roller door, like storage facility. They you see everywhere, but they just like use them to practice. So they like roll up the door, and they've got like all their equipment in there, and there's like one playing in this hallway, and around the corner there's another one playing, and it's just like when all 4 of them are going off, or 5 at the same time, and they're singing, like it's so wild.
A lot of drums.
Yeah,
it's like
and none of them are
drumming.
good. That's the problem.
Well, they wouldn't be performing in a storage unit if they were good. So I suppose that makes sense.
Exactly.
That's a very, very good point.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
stay
Although
up
I
late at
drummed in a
the.
storage unit for a while when I
I
was a
mean,
teenager.
Yeah.
if I was learning how to play the drums, this would be the perfect place.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
judges you there because, well, it's a storage unit.
Who's going to judge you?
Yeah.
Fair point. Yeah. But do you know when you started? Right. I just want to talk about the refit a bit more because I just love talking about building boats. When you hauled out originally, what was actually on the agenda for that boat? Like, what did you think you needed to do?
Actually, by the time we hauled out, we knew we were going to be doing the whole thing.
Right.
We arrived in. So, why back up? How far back should we go? So 10 years ago, we got the boat
in Sardinia.
No, I mean, to be
February.
honest, 10 years ago when we bought the boat, we knew eventually we were going to rebuild the whole thing if we
Yeah.
liked sailing and if we liked that boat. We knew that what we did back at the beginning was temporary. We knew it was like cheap and like we had 4 or 5 different sizes of PVC because every island had a different size pipe that we'd have to like melt and heat up and bend to like work in the fittings we had. Like it looked okay on camera because it was painted, but like it was pretty rough. And so we knew eventually we were going to be doing this refit, but we kept getting distracted, and then COVID, and then Norway, and we were just like, well, she hasn't sunk yet, so maybe Svalbard. Like, and then when we made it into the Med, which was sort of the goal for us on this particular boat, we're like, let's at least cross the Atlantic and enjoy like a summer in the Med. We were kind of sitting there in the winter. It was 2 winters ago. Yeah. So this would be like the 3rd winter. But so it was, December, January of 2020.
December 2022.
Yeah. We sort of had these conversations of like, if we're going to start doing this, we should probably do it in the Med before we go out again and sail, into more remote areas. And then it was like Valentine's Day and we were in Menorca and we just kind of woke up and we're like, it has to happen now. Like we just like we've been planning it forever, but we were just like, we have to pull the pin on this or it's never going to happen. And
but
so
we just couldn't do it in Menorca because it's such a small island.
And
so
Majorca, we had already been in, and it was also kind of a small island. Like there's one, like you can haul out in Palma, but it's
an
like
expensive yard that as well.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Yeah. And so we didn't know anything about Italy, and we didn't know anything about Sardinia. But we like opened up a map and we just zoomed into like the next ports we plan on going to, and we're like, Olbia's got tons of shipyards. Let's go there. It's only like a 3-day sail. So we left that day, and we sailed for 3 days, and we arrived in Olbia, and it took us like 2 or 3 days to get into the marina because like nobody was open because it's the winter. And within a week we were tearing stuff out of the boat. We're like, this has to happen now. We had like no real plan. We were just like, we need to fix the dimples in the hull, we need to reinforce the hull.
But back then we didn't know that we were going to do the entire boat just yet. We thought we were going to just fix the dimples, right? Which means the main cabin.
What do you mean?
So on the side of our boat, it's basically like dimples, like on your cheeks. The side of our boat, it kind of comes in a little bit,
right?
And it's because the rigging, the rigging is tensioning the hull, and so it just brings the hull in.
It was on our lower shrouds where like there's that triangle between like the deck and the hull. It's called a knee, I think, and the bottoms were all delaminated, and so it was just pulling the rig at the wrong angle, and it was pulling the hull in.
Yeah,
and so we could never tension our rig because the more we tensioned our rig, the more those dimples
would pulled in.
Yeah, and so people did notice on the videos that like, well, your rig is so loose, like you have to tighten it. We're like, no, we can't, because otherwise it's just it's too much.
Is that a thing with all of those boats? Then have you noticed that with other people's?
It kind of is. So there's the Pearson 36 that we have, and there's a Pearson 10 meter, which is like almost the exact same boat. And the Pearson 10 meter actually had a recall for like all 100 and something hulls because of the knees that were done improperly and they were delaminating, and they fixed them all, but they didn't fix the Pearson 36, even though it was like the exact same like build.
Same build. Right.
And so us and another Pearson that we know has the same issues. And so the original plan was that we were going to be here for 3 months because that's how long we can stay in, Schengen without leaving. We were just going to like rip out the middle section because the forward ones were easy. They were in the head and a closet. So we could just like grind those out and laminate them, in a week. And the middle ones in the salon, we had to take out like all of the cabinetry and the settees and the water tanks and reinforce them. So we started just pairing stuff out and and then realizing just how much we'd been sort of layering on top of just a shitty build. And so we were like, within those 3 months, a lot happened in the background. But after those 3 months were over, we were like, oh no, we're going to do the whole thing here. We're not just going to put another Band-Aid on it. We're going to gut it. We're going to do it properly.
And how have you fixed the dimple situation then? Like
by rebuilding the entire boat,
ripped the entire thing to a complete empty shell.
Yeah.
Have you just like put tons and tons of glass around that entire area then?
So we actually, so we started by like ripping everything out of the boat as much as we could. Because anything that wasn't really like part of the structure, there was like 2 bulkheads that were kind of tabbed in okay. The rest of it was just furniture. And we did all that in the water because none of the yards here would let us do any of the work ourselves, and we weren't going to hire people. So we're like, we'll just do it in the marina. We'll rebuild the boat in the water. Like we've done worse before. So, but then we did find a yard, and this was it's been like almost exactly a year. We hauled out last December. We found a yard that was willing to be like, well, you're the owners, so it's okay if you do a bit of work. We're like, we're just going to do like some fiberglass work and some painting. It's fine. And yeah, so we put it up on stands, and we put like double the amount of stands you normally put on a boat to like support the hull as best we could. And yeah, we gutted every bulkhead down. We ground down the entire hull. We took the cabin liner out. So there was absolutely nothing left in the boat. And then we added like 10 centimeter by 5 centimeter ribs about every 80 centimeters all the way through the boat. And we
whereabouts were those ribs?
So like going all the way from the deck all the way down to the keel and back up the other side. Whoa. So we had 10, I think, ribs all the way through, and then we added a huge lateral stringer, which they normally do on like 45 plus foot boats. But we added like a 10 by 10 stringer that went all the way around, and then added 2 more millimeters of fiberglass to the inside of the hull. So basically, we built a brand new boat inside of our old boat, and we used the old boat as a mold. And then we put all the bulkheads in, and we glassed all those in. So it's like double overkill. And yeah, so the dimples are gone because like the hull relaxed, and there's like a little bit of like a dent there still, but we're just going to ferret over.
Yeah.
But the hull's super solid now. Yeah.
And it was funny because when we went to the yard, and the yard was asking us, so like, we need to have a list of what you as the owner think you're going to be doing as in terms of work. And you're like, are you sure you want to detail? It's like, no, yeah, just like tell us what you're going to be doing. We're like, well, fiberglass work, electrical, plumbing, carpentry. We just listed the big items.
Yeah.
They just didn't know the details of everything.
Yeah, that's just so much. Have you, because like we spoke about this quite a bit, like with getting it insured and what the boat is actually listed as, because it's not a Pearson 36 by the time you're finised. It's the shell of one and then something else. What about like the actual weight and like the writing motion of it and the balance of the boat? Like, have you had to deal with like naval architects and stuff to go through all of that, or have you just gone for it and figured out if it's evenly dispersed, it should be fine?
Great question, Andy.
Great question.
I like boat building.
But we didn't go with an architect or anything like that to properly calculate the weight of the boat, but we've sailed that boat for 10 years, right? And we know exactly how she was built, and we know every corners of the things that we put in as well in terms of systems. And so with this rebuild, because we're starting from scratch, we know generally what we're going to be putting back in. And I mean, we're pretty sure that by the end, she's going to be pretty well balanced and ideally less heavy than she was when she hauled out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Because like plywood to plywood,
cool.
like bulkhead to bulkhead, we're putting in roughly the same volume of plywood we took out. Like there's still bulkheads. There's still like we can theoretically calculate it because we're doing like everything in 3D before we put it in the boat. And so we can select everything we have listed as a bulkhead and calculate like the volume of wood and the weight of the wood we're putting back in. But generally speaking, we're making sure that like, for the most part, she's symmetrical anyway. And like the heaviest stuff we're putting down the middle, the water tanks, the batteries.
Cool.
That's it. And so we also know that like the distribution of like stuff, like storage affects the trim way more than what's installed in the boat. You know, whether or not we put our books on one side and our tools on the other, or our books and our tools on one side, you know, that makes more difference than anything else, because we're going to be putting in, you know, 1,000 or 2,000 kilos of stuff that we're going to be storing in there, from food to water to tools to camera gears, like just stuff. There's a lot of it. And so you can use that to kind of trim it out if it's not quite right.
Good point.
But I mean, generally speaking, like, we ground out so much fiberglass, including the headliner and the cabin liner, like under the hull liner, I guess, and the cabin liner, which were super heavy. And we ground out, just in fiberglass dust alone, we took 4 probably 20 or 30 kilo bags of dust out of the boat just from grinding. And so all the glass we put back in, we did calculate, and it was 350 kilos of glass that we put back in, and resin.
Oh, that's not much.
No. And the way we see it is like, it's like the weight we're putting back in is muscle, not fat. You know what I mean? It's like, if you go to the gym and you gain weight, it's good. You're stronger, you know?
Yeah.
So she's got a lot more muscle than she did before. And we're not going to be carrying around nearly as much, you know, battery cable and spare parts than, like, because we knew we were going to be doing this refit. So we kept everything. We had like spare marble tiles on board. Like, we had everything. We're also not putting marble tiles back on board.
Yeah. I think we're gonna save,
or concrete.
Or pure wood for a table.
2-inch.
You had a heavy duty table
there. Solid wood.
It looked nice. It did look really
good.
Yeah,
it looked amazing. But I think we're going to try
like 20 or 30 kilos.
No, I think we're going to try to be careful where we put the weight. Like, there's going to be a weight that's going to be put back in, but where it matters, basically, and where we can take off the weight, where it doesn't matter, then we'll take it off. Like, we're not going to have like a pure mahogany, beautiful table, because it's too heavy and there's no point. We can make a beautiful table that's not as heavy.
Yeah. Those things are going to save us some weight. And we're not going to be carrying nearly as much, like, spare parts and not spare parts, but like rebuilding supplies, like full chop saws and like multiple grinders and sanders. Like, we carried enough tools, all the tools we own, except for like the table saw we bought. All the tools we're using on this refit are stuff we've been carrying around for the last 10 years. But we're not going to have to carry them after this, because we're not going to be rebuilding the boat again, and we'll keep them in the container.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, when I dropped my boat in after I did the refit, I put as much in as I could possibly do. Like, I filled the water tanks. I think I had like an extra 300 bottles of water in the bilge, just because some of the water you get in Greece is quite salty. And stocked the entire thing up with food. Like, we could have done a circumnavigation with the amount of food that I had on the boat. I went nuts in Lidl, and you get a lot for your money in Lidl. So it was completely. So anyway, it went from 18 tons out of the factory to 23 tons. And that's when it was going in the water, so it wasn't wet. Just stuff.
I totally believe it. We're 7, and we're supposed to be
I think 7 something tons.
I'm gonna get this wrong.
Sounds
14
about right.
tons. No, we're supposed to be 14,000 pounds. Yeah, we're supposed to be 14,000 pounds with 7 tons.
Yeah, it's like 7 tons.
And we're 9 tons, 18,000 pounds when they haul us out. So we're like 2 tons over. We have 2 tons of stuff.
A lot of extra weight for a 36-foot boat.
Cameras are really heavy.
But also it changed the waterline by like an inch. You know, like, it changed our waterline by 2.5 centimeters or something like that. Like, it's not like, because where the waterline is on a boat, it's where it gets wide. And so, like, you could put tons and tons of stuff in a boat, and it's going to sink by 5 centimeters or something. And as long as the weight's low down, it's not going to change the sailing performance.
Yeah, I need to add 3 inches onto my waterline. When I don't know what they were carrying on this boat before, but it was obviously not the volume that I'm carrying now. But yeah, I completely repainted the boat, and then as soon as I put it in, I was like, the anti-foul is just above the water. So the beautiful boot stripe that I put all the way down just collects seaweed and creatures and all sorts. So that's something
we repainted our entire boot stripe with anti-foul last time we hauled out, like the full, like, probably 20 centimeters at the bow and 15 at the stern, because when you're like, it's so much easier to clean, and then it just looks black and it looks better.
Yeah, but that's the difference, right? Like, having a boat that somebody takes out for a weekend or for a summer vacation versus a boat that you actually live full time on, that you have to have everything you own on that boat. It's everything you have.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure it's going to be heavier.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's not that bad with monohulls anyway. Like I always looked at it like when I was loading the boat up, when I was bringing it back from Greece to Spain, it was completely full. And one of the guys who's a regatta skipper was like, "Oh, it's going to weigh the boat down." I was like, "Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing on a monohull. Like you actually want as much weight as possible in there, from my opinion. It'll heel less. Whereas, yeah, if you're on a catamaran, then it will like really, really slow the boat down tremendously. So
I
yeah,
mean,
it's not a
it
bad
has to
thing.
make a difference on boats that can get up on, even monohulls that can get up on a plane, like a race boat.
Yeah,
Because it affects your whatever that is, takeoff speed. I don't know what it's called when you get from displacement to planing speeds. That's what it affects. But yeah, weight on a monohull makes it more comfortable. Like,
yeah, I
especially if it's
think
low
so.
down, it's
I
better.
didn't mind. Yeah, when they lifted up, I was like, how much is it? They're like 23. I was like, oh, nice. I thought it was
Yeah,
18. That's
yeah, yeah.
that's
We
great.
when we brought our boat from the marina to the yard we hauled out, and it's maybe 2 nautical miles or something, like through the harbor, and we were like, we hip towed with the dinghy because like everything was out of the boat. There was nothing left. The
Yeah,
mast was off. Everything was out. We only had two bulkheads left in, and it was the most uncomfortable we've ever been on the boat because you just bounced around and bobbed around so much
yeah, I bet.
because we were 20 centimeters out further out of the water, something
Yeah,
like that.
she
Like
was
we were,
way too light.
yeah, it was just like the keel and the rudder were in the water, like the whole boat was just sitting on top. It was super uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's it's so interesting. It's going to be amazing to see what you've done with it because you're both incredibly like creative people with your work, but also like with the way you've rebuilt that boat already. You know what you've done inside to it. It looks incredible for the age of it as well, considering what you've done to it. It looks amazing. What so when you started doing this work, did you anticipate doing like a complete interior strip out and rebuild of the whole interior, or was that an afterthought because you were taking it all apart anyway?
So we've been, I mean, over the last 10 years, you're probably the same way with your boat too. You kind of think about all the things that you want to put on your boat anyway, the things you want to change. And then
Yep.
when we started this refit, we thought we are going to redo the cabin. And we're like, okay, so we have the opportunity to not put it back the way that we had it originally. So let's think about the things that we wanted to change anyway. And the main thing that we wanted was to have a U-shaped galley because over the years we've
Nice.
learned how important and how beneficial that the U-shaped galley would be.
Mm.
And so we're like, well, if we want to have a U-shaped galley, then we need to flip everything
Yeah.
because we wanted to have a U-shaped galley, which means we needed to have a companionway that's like linear, which means that we couldn't we had to flip whatever the nook was, put it on the
Mm.
other side, and which means we had to flip the head to the other side, which means it's kind of like this domino effect. It's like, well, if we're gonna change that, might as well change the other thing. And if we're gonna change the other thing, might as well change the V-berth. And then little that we know, we did the entire boat.
The whole
So
thing's changed.
then we're
Yeah.
like, well, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it right. Let's do it the way we want to because it's our home and we
Yeah.
want to be comfortable living inside this boat and we know exactly what we want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we also had a lot of time that first year in Sardinia because yeah, we were just not here at all. We had like a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. And so we were here for like 3 months out of the year or something like that. So we had a lot of time away from the boat to sort of like sit at the iPad and be like, all right, if we're gonna do this, like if we get to come back to Sardinia, like what can we do? What can we do differently? Because yeah, I mean, if we're putting it all back anyway, it doesn't matter which way we put it back. You know, we had the opportunity to change it all, so we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now pretty much all the bulkheads are done. We just primed the interior before Mets, and
Yeah.
now we're back installing some stuff. So it's nice because it's actually starting to like look like the 3D model that we've been staring at for almost 2 years. And
Yeah.
it's weird because we go back and like find clips from old videos we've done. You know, when we talk about like, oh, the last time we did this ball, and we go back and we're like, oh yeah, that's what our boat looked like. You know, because we've been staring at it in the model and in VR for so long, and we've been in the boat building it for so long, like imagining, no, yeah, okay, the cabinet's going to be here and it's going to go there, and like this is where the gallery's going to go, that we just like forget that it didn't look like that 2 years ago. Like it's
Yeah.
weird. And then you go back to really old stuff when we first got the boat and we're like, that's not even our boat. Like we don't even remember it. It's so long ago. It's really bizarre.
You had a blue deck for a very long time.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. We've rediscovered it in a few places. We're like, oh yeah,
Oh, there it is.
blue.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
We
like
took
a
our
baby
main
teal type
traveler
of
off,
blue,
and there
wasn't
it
it?
was, and we're like, totally forgot it. Yeah, it was
So
awful.
bad.
It was a terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but you
although
got it cheap.
although it was kind of a blessing and a curse, right? Because we hated that color. So the first opportunity we had to change it when we were in Guatemala, we primed everything, but
Yeah.
we didn't put anything like non-skid.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have any lifelines. So our deck was the slipperiest thing you've ever seen
We did
for like the next year.
Until
Yeah,
Norfolk,
yeah.
we did like 2,000 or 3,000 miles of sailing with no lifelines and just primer on deck with no non-skid.
Yeah.
So our rock climbing skills came in very, very handy. And
handholds are
our
useful.
deck handrail broke on
That's
the
right.
wood one broke too. So we
Yeah.
only had a handrail on one side. So we did from Guatemala all the way to Florida and then wintered in the Bahamas and then all the way up to Norfolk. So we passed Cape Hatteras with no lifelines and no. Oh wait, did we do the lifelines? We did
No.
the
Yeah, you
lifelines
put
in Florida.
Dyneema
Oh
on,
yeah,
didn't
we
you?
did lifelines.
We put the lifelines in Florida,
Yeah.
but we still had. So we just did from Mexico to Florida with no lifelines and primer, and then we did all the Bahamas with just primer and lifeline. Yeah.
But it was funny because when we started, like 10 years ago, we started with the boat, we had no concept of why lifelines were so important. And so
Yeah.
we kind of sailed the first 3-4 years without any lifelines, and we
Yeah.
didn't mind it because we never learned with it, right? And so we had ways to get around the boat without needing to hold on to lifelines. But then we installed the lifelines and we're like, oh,
It was also the
okay, I
Caribbean.
see the
They
appeal.
could save your life.
It was also
Yeah.
the Caribbean, and the Caribbean is like the easiest trade wind sailing. Like it's just such easy sailing. Like
Yeah,
you can
that's
see
true.
the next island. There's almost no waves. There's no swell. Like it's sunny all the time. If there's a line squall, you can see it's coming for like 2 or 3 hours. If there's a hurricane, you can see it coming for 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
it was just like the easiest place we've ever sailed, and so we didn't need we didn't. I mean, people paddleboard around the Caribbean.
That's true.
Yeah, it'll take a hobby cat and circumnavigate the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't even need like a charter compass. You can see the next island and you go there. Like it's just bizarre.
Yeah, it's
but
a
it was
shame
nice to have them,
Pearson
like, on the
don't
Atlantic.
actually make boats anymore, because you guys would have. Well, I don't know if it would have been good for the marketing, because you've pretty much you've displayed that they need to be completely rebuilt, actually. So maybe it would be good.
I think there's a reason they don't build boats anymore, and that's because they went bankrupt because they're shitty boats. But people might get this crap for saying it.
How many boats did they build? Like, I think like 100 or something like that.
Of ours, I think there's like 114 or 115. We're in the 3-digit hull number. We're like 107 or something. I don't really remember, but I think they did over 100 the 10 meter and over 100 the 36, and then they switched to 365. And then there was like that gap where resin was expensive in the late 70s, and then they came back with a 36-1 or something, which is more like a modern like Hunter, Bavaria, like those kind of boats, which are like they're just production boats. Like there's nothing wrong with them. They're just built cheap and fast. Like that's what production boats are. They're built cheap and fast.
Yeah, it's just
to make
a hollow
the
version
cheapest
of
boat
yours
to the
in a way.
biggest market. And like that's it's like buying an RV instead of a overlander. It is what it is, but we've pushed that boat way harder than anyone's ever pushed it before. And she sails
no
well.
doubt.
I mean, she's got a good shape. She's got a good hull shape. She's a good size to the two of us. She sails pretty well in the water. Like we sailed a lot of other boats that don't sail that well. And so that's why we decided to keep her. I mean, we could have got like another old shitty boat and fixed it up, but then we wouldn't know how well it sails. We'd have to be like a whole new learning experience.
And so in terms of like the interior work that you're doing on it as well, because you're completely changing it, have you seen any other boats that are probably more modern, I suppose, because I can't imagine you're going to do a classic interior. But are you, is there anything that you've seen and you've been inspired by? Like what boats out there have you looked at and been like, I'd like a little bit of that in Uma or a little bit of that?
I don't think we've ever
Zero.
seen something in the boat. No, seriously. We've never seen something in a boat that we felt inspired by. Because boats are so like they're so caked in tradition. And even the modern boats, like if you look at the interior of the modern production boats, they all look exactly the same. Like it was hard to tell. It's hard to tell them apart unless you look at the name of it.
Yeah.
I think the most inspiration we get is, for one, like the practicality of things. Like we know what we want to do inside the space. And so we try to find a way to create it. It might exist somewhere else, maybe in a van or in a house, or it might not exist yet, and we have to figure things out.
It's more of like the experience we've had over the last 10 years of sailing that boat from the Caribbean to the North Pole and back. We've learned, like, it's not like we saw a boat with a U-shaped galley and we're like, we want that. It's like we went sailing and went, oh, it'd be really helpful to have a strap that could cross the back of this galley and keep me inside of it while we're sailing so I can keep cooking in 35 knots of wind offshore in the middle of the Atlantic with a 12-meter swell or whatever. So like those kinds of things, like fore and aft facing toilet, so you can use it on both tacks. Like
Yeah.
most boats are meant to live in at the marina, and they're not actually meant to sail. Like they're not meant to live in while sailing, put it that way. They're meant to like go
Yep.
from point A to point B and then anchor and then live in. We've been to so many boat shows and seen so many boats that have like linear galleys with drawer fridges and freezers, and we're like, how are you supposed to open that on a port tack? Like that's 100 kilos of food that's going to be in there, and it's
Just
going to
gonna
squish you
fly
up
it out.
against the wall, and you're not going to be able to close it again. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense. Or toilets, on that face sideways across the boat, and you're like, cool, on one tack that's great, on the other tack you can't use it.
Yeah. And these are like
Yeah.
the experiences that we've had with UMA
Yeah,
version
yeah,
1.0. We had like
Mm.
our original toilet was facing side to side, and we noticed struggles. Like the
Yeah.
first thing we did when we did our first renovation was we moved that toilet to face fore and aft.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we've learned the hard way was the drawers, because we made this huge drawer for our camera equipment. So, and you
Yeah.
know how heavy camera equipment could be. And then, yeah, it was side to side. So, like on one tack, we needed to open and get a new camera or a battery, and we're sailing, and it's impossible to open.
I'm so
Or
surprised we didn't break the latch on that drawer.
yeah, or it just smashes onto
Yeah.
you on like on a different tack, or if you forget to, lock the
Yeah.
drawer. So yeah.
Oh, even little things like we've been on I won't say which one because it doesn't really matter, but we've been on a more higher end production boat, but still a production boat, and we were on anchor, and like we were in the Weber sleeping, and the other guy we were with was in the aft cabin sleeping, and we just heard this kind of like thumping noise. And we're like, what is it? Is it the mooring ball? We'd wake up and we'd walk out, and like the floor was squeaky, and we'd be like trying to figure out what it is. We'd go back to bed, and we'd hear it again, and we'd hear him wake up and try it, and it like all night we could not sleep. And in the morning we realized there's like one drawer that goes crossways in the boat, and it wasn't fully latched, and it didn't have like soft close drawer slides. And so if you have soft close drawer slides, like it kind of holds the drawer closed in like a light roll. But
Yeah.
when we went out, it wasn't doing it, and then like a wake would come by, and the drawer would just open just a little bit and slam closed. And it was the most annoying thing ever, but just because like the latch wasn't quite latched. So there's lots of things we've
Yeah.
noticed in boats where we're like, we'd do that differently if we were going to rebuild ours. And it's sort of added up to a list, but I think it's the opposite of inspiration. I think it's like that's a stupid idea.
Do that.
Let's not do that.
Looking
The
around all these
process of
$1 million
elimination.
boats for like all the
Yeah.
bad points, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or stuff we've tried
Yeah, yeah.
before that just doesn't really work. Like we did the whole like like those grooves you put in your Korean countertop for like drainage racks.
Yep.
They work great in a house, but on a boat, you're never level on a boat, like ever. And
Yep.
so you put your dishes up there, and yeah, maybe it works if like we had to hang our dinghy always on the port side so that our galley was always 1 or 2 degrees over so that those would work. Because if we hung the dinghy on the other side, like it would just drain
It's
into
going
the
the other way.
hull. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even like on a catamaran, they don't really seem like that. It's more of like a style thing that like people expect to see. And that's how we were influenced to do it. And we're like, that looks cool. Let's do that. And we're like, this is so impractical on a boat. There's got to be a smarter way to do this. So yeah, those kinds of things were changing. But yeah, I mean, there's some custom boats we've seen where like that looks neat, but then there's always like it's 10% neat and 90% like what the fuck. So
Yeah, like why
yeah,
bother doing it?
it's yeah, and that's why we're rebuilding our boat. We've been to the boat shows. We've seen a lot of production boats. We've sailed on a lot of boats, and every time we're like, even if we had $1 million burning a hole in our pocket, which we definitely do not, we wouldn't spend it on a boat. Like we would buy an old boat and fix it up and keep $800,000 and invest it.
Yeah. Do you know? I just
so-
don't see. I mean, there's some boats that are obviously, super pretty, in like the $1 million range. But if you take an older boat that's like 20 years old and built well, it's going to be a stronger boat for a start, because it's been built more for a sailor rather than a vacation maker or a weekend sailor or a marina sailor or something like that. But $1 million, I just can't see how you can justify the cost of some of these things, especially when you compare it to. I mean, I suppose if you've got time and the knowledge, like you guys have obviously got the time to rebuild it because it's your boat and your boat is your business. Yeah, you've got the knowledge to actually implement what is practical for living on a boat. But there's no way I'd spend that money on a boat. I'd have to have like 40 million in the bank and not give a shit
that's
to spend $1 million
or
on
put
a
it
boat.
in charter. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
then
lot
it's
of people are
making
buying
money.
these to put it in charter for 4 years and then taking out or make money. So that's also part of the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can build a boat from scratch, customizable, but yeah, that comes with, a bigger wallet, so to speak.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and there's
much
also
more
like
expensive.
Yeah.
that we've heard the argument a lot of like you can like it's not a generically applicable saying to say like old boats are built well compared to new boats. I don't think
Yeah, it
because like
depends
it
on
really
when.
depends on who built it. Like there's plenty of old boats that are built like shit, like ours, and there's some that are so overbuilt that they sail like shit. And
Yeah, yeah.
so for us, we've always tried to walk that thin line between like performance and comfort because we are all electric, and so we need the performance to sail.
Hmm.
And now that we're getting regen, the faster we sail, like it goes exponentially up.
Yeah.
We get twice as much regen at 7 knots than we do at like 6. And it just goes straight up after that. And so like there are more modern boats with vacuum infused hulls, even if the interiors are kind of meh, like the hull's probably better suited for that than an older boat that's built like a tank
Hmm.
and meant to weather, a hurricane offshore with a drogue.
Mm.
So like there's like we've kind of gone through this argument so many times in our heads and with other people in the past that it's like it doesn't even matter if it's vacuum infused or hand laid or balsa core or foam core. It doesn't matter what the boat's made out of. It matters so much more who built it and if they did a
Yeah.
good job. Because like for some reason we had a balsa core in our boat, and once we fixed the original damage 10 years ago, like we've had no more issues with it. And the balsa we put back in, we've done a good job, so it's going to be sealed, and like we don't really see the problem with it. But you could also get a modern vacuum infused boat foam core that was built like shit, and it's still going to have problems.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. I think I was more referring to like probably more of the like traditional production companies that are building a lot of charter boats now. If you compared
Hmm.
that,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
some
yeah.
of even the upmarket boats, if you look at even some Halberg Grasses or some oysters and stuff like that, you can see where they're cutting corners in some places compared to where they weren't cutting corners like 20 years ago. Like, but
Yeah, that's
again,
true.
that's from like a sailing perspective. Like, if you're going to sail that boat offshore, you would want a heavier rig, you would want bigger winches, you would want less space here and more space there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, yeah, I think most people aren't really making boats for sailors anymore. They're making them for like vacation makers,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah. Well, that's
bad.
where the money is. I mean,
Yeah, it's where the money is.
if I was a business building boats and had shareholders, we'd be doing the same thing. Like that's where the money is. But yeah, we've been sailing on like modern production boats with the super wide transoms and the twin helms, and you get
Yeah,
that thing leaned over at 20 degrees, 22 degrees in 30 knots of wind or something. It's fucking terrifying.
yeah, yeah,
Like to look down from the windward helm 5 meters down to the ocean with nothing between you and the ocean, it is awful.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, yeah.
that's in the med sailing. Like I can imagine what that would be like. I mean, I guess most people don't go upwind on sailboats, but still, like it's just it's different on a race boat because they have a canting keel and they can flatten the
Mm,
boat back out again. And so you can have the super wide transom and you can still sail comfortably. But on
yeah.
like some big 60-foot, Beneteau with a 5.5 meter beam in the stern or whatever, 4 meters. Like it's so terrifying to heel those boats over.
I was just going through the footage from the Odyssey Festival in Greece, and
Yeah.
Lauren put a lot of footage on a hard drive that I was taking a look at. I'm going to put them to some of the promotional stuff, and they were doing quite a bit of upwind sailing. Then Laura Decker was as well, and I saw
Yeah, of
someone's
course.
footage off Laura Decker's boat when they were sailing upwind, and I was like, ugh, like that is exactly
Oh,
like you said. They're on like the windward helm, and then the thing's
it's a
heeling
long
over, and
way
yeah,
down.
that's a long way to
It's a
fall
long way
down
down.
there. Actually,
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's nothing like at least race boats have those massive like canting pedestals, like those big platforms you can stand on.
yeah.
We'd help deliver a Volvo 65, whatever, VO 65.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was super fun to sail, like, but it was built for that, you know?
It's also
yeah.
those boats also are not meant to be heeled over, as
No.
we've found out, because of the
Mhm.
canting keels.
Yeah, yeah,
So
Yeah.
because we were on watch at some point and we were heeled over, we're like, oh, this is
yeah.
great. Like we're finally
The
sailing.
wind
Like, look at
finally
us.
picked up, and we were like, doing 15 knots or something. We're like, this is great.
And then the skipper comes out and he's like, what are you guys doing? He's like, yeah, we're sailing. He's like, no, 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 watch this. And he pressed a button, like canters the keel onto the other side, and the
Yeah,
boat just like levels itself.
yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. We don't need to heel over on this boat. Like
No.
it's like you can sail fast and not need to heel over.
What we
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
realize is like because it was a delivery in the med, we were motoring a lot of the time because there was just no wind. Like we were just on a schedule
Yeah.
with Malta. And what he had done is like we were full sail, but he had canted the keel to leeward to like push the boat over so the sails had shape, and so they were actually like giving us like a little bit of lift. And so we didn't realize the keel is all the way to the leeward
other
side. And so when we went from 3 knots of wind to like 8 knots of wind, and we were finally sailing at like 6 or 7 knots, to us that's super fast, and we're like, this is great, we're cruising along. But the boat was heeled over at like 15 degrees, but that boat never does. And that's when he came out and he put the keel back over, and we went from sailing at like 6 knots to like 11, in 10 knots of wind or something like that. It was fantastic.
With the lesser angle.
And we were like flat. Yeah. And we're like, oh, that's kind of boring.
They're so
they're
cool.
meant for that.
Yeah, they're so it would be so awesome to have like that type of body of a boat as like a shell, and then be able to like fit that out into some type of cruiser.
You don't want to.
It's too complicated, to be honest.
No, well,
yeah, I know it would be comfortable. It would just be a lot of fun.
We've had that thought because we've had the opportunity to pick up an old Volvo boat for a very good price before, and we're like, this would be kind of cool. Really old race boats, like I won't say really old, 20 plus years maybe, might be a better option. Like from the 70s and 80s, maybe early 90s. But the modern ones are pushed right to the edge of like mechanical limits anyway, and they require multiple people on board to sail them, and there's no headroom, like there's no space inside. And as soon as you started putting enough comfort in there to live in, it'd be too heavy to sail. But like an older one probably would be fine when they're still kind of like a normal boat shape. You could probably modify it to the point where you could sail it shorthanded with like all the winches and all the lines and everything. But then you're going to be back to being like a regular boat again with like,
just be like a performance cruiser rather than a race boat.
Same amount of like what's the word I'm looking for? Not built-in safety, because they overbuild cruising boats because they don't really know what the forces are going to be. They're like, well, this is what we think is going to happen. Well, 5x safety factor. That's what I'm talking about. Cruising boats are built in with such high safety factors compared to race boats. We're like, how much weight can we cut out of this before it falls apart? And
that's why they break so much. So the masts come down and the keels pop out, and
they literally snap in half in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. That shit's terrifying.
You see quite a few disasters on them. There was one, I can't remember what it was. I think it was last year. I can't remember. It was I think it was a 65. No, I'm pretty sure it was a 65 that my friend booked it's like a passage on, not a charter. I think it's going from like Spain to the Canaries or Portugal to the Canaries or whatever. And the mast snapped in half with like hardly any strain on it when it was just barely sailing. And they're not designed to sail for a very long time. That's why these things have got like such a short lifespan before you have to start spending way too much money.
A few $1,000.
They're not expensive. Cheap. Yeah, like I was talking to a friend about this the other day who's really into racing, and you can. Don't quote me on this because it's probably wrong, but I'm sure we said like you could pick up like a 65 for like a couple $100,000 to a few $100,000 now. Yeah. Or it might have been a 70, I can't remember, one of the two. But anyway, like not an insane amount of money for like, you look at it, you're like, whoa, that is a lot of boat and a lot of equipment. It looks pretty high performance.
Yeah, but it's after a pretty heavy race.
Sailed around the world 3 times and refit twice, and like, and then to put a new set of sails on it, that's another $500,000 or whatever. I mean, it's they're very expensive toys to play with, and that's why they all do these like paid deliveries so they can like make money not during the race season. We didn't realize this about racing. Like, there's no money in it. Like, I don't understand. Like, you don't get a pot of gold at the end when you win. Like, it's weird. You have to take sponsorships. That's the only, and do these charges. It's the only way they make money.
That's why there's branding littered all over these things. You see these gorgeous boats, and then it's like Adidas. It's like written all the way down the side. You're like, why?
Yeah. That's why it's a $4 million boat. Someone's got to pay for it.
Yeah. That's very true. There's not much in it. So, I mean, I was going to ask about timelines, but I asked that last time, and maybe
the answer changed a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine it probably would do. Yeah.
What did we say last time?
Yeah, what did we say last year?
I'm sure you said like a year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's about right.
It's been a year.
We have the same insert today.
Still a year.
A year.
Still a year.
Yeah. What do you want to do with Uma after you've fixed it up? Because you've ticked off a lot of things when it comes to cruising and sailing already. You've done high
Yeah, I mean,
latitudes
not
as well
really. To be
When is
honest,
this podcast going to be public?
in a week.
Oh, okay.
So if you think about it, we've sailed a lot on the boat, but we've only seen like a third of the globe. We haven't seen everything. We haven't seen a lot.
Oh no,
I'll
I
tell
mean
you
like the type
one.
of sailing.
Oh, type
Oh,
of sailing?
right. I mean,
Yeah.
More.
more
of it.
than we, yeah, more
Yeah.
of the same. One thing that we want to do with this refit though is we want to push being all electric because
Right.
we had the opportunity and we were really thinking about going hybrid as in like installing a diesel generator paired
Yeah.
up with our electric motor. But then the more we think about it, the more we realize that it makes sense for us to stay all electric because I mean, hybrid is possible, right? It's not a bad solution for people who have a schedule, who want a little bit more comfort.
Mhm.
And like
Yeah.
we get it. Like we thought about it too. But I think that so many people have tried to go all electric with like projects and failed. And the problem is they blamed it on the technology. And we want
Mm.
to double down on showing that it's not a technology problem. It's like you have to have the right mindset. You have to have the
Yeah.
right system.
Mhm.
We've been doing it for 10 years, but people still don't take it seriously because maybe we had an outboard. We weren't really purely all electric because we carried fuel with us and we pushed the boat with our outboard from time to time on the dinghy.
Mm.
And so we want to try to swing the pendulum the other way and be truly all electric. So no petrol on board, no propane, no diesel,
No
no
alcohol,
nothing, no
yeah.
alcohol, just purely electric or strictly analog stuff for redundancy.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's the goal. And I don't know where we're going to take that, but currently that's what we're trying to do with the rebuild.
So,
Okay.
to piggyback off of that a little bit, one of the like myths about electric is that everyone's like, oh yeah, it's probably good for like, coastal sailing or like, racing. Like they always think it's like, oh, maybe coastal cruising is probably fine, but not for open ocean, not for cross the
Well, it's
Atlantic, not
better for
cross the
open ocean.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if you have regen, like
Yeah.
the only time all electric is perfect is on open ocean crossings where
Yeah,
you
of
have
course, yeah.
consistent wind, consistent power draws. You're not really on a schedule because, like, it might take you 3 weeks, it might take you 5 to cross the Atlantic. You just don't know.
Mm.
And you can just keep getting regen. Like the only time we've ever had all the power we need is when we're offshore sailing.
Yeah.
And so we kind of want to share that message in a way because our time in Norway, and especially in the tropics and the around the equator and stuff where there's good sun, there's good wind, it's much easier to be all electric than in Norway in the winter. Like it's just kind of silly.
Oh
because,
gosh, yeah.
you know what I
Well,
mean?
especially if you're on anchor, if you've not got that
Yeah.
regen working for you, like you
Exactly.
might just not even bring in enough solar to charge you.
And
panels.
within 10 or 15 miles of shore, that's when the wind gets fluky, and that's where you have to worry about hitting rocks and stuff. And so
Yeah.
we've since Mets have sort of switched gears a little bit and are just focusing in on like what, because we were originally planning, and we probably still will make some sort of series around all the different types of hybrid systems that are out there, because there's so much bullshit and there's so much boat builders that are advertising all electric, even though it's the equivalent of calling a cruise ship all electric just because it has an electric drive. But
Yeah.
it's just silly. And so there's like a lot of bullshit and there's a lot of misinformation, and we're trying to like wrap our heads around how we could even convey that, because like being all electric, truly all electric, like what we're trying to do is pretty extreme, and the majority of people probably can't do it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Because the majority of people have a 9 to 5 or have to get back up the weekend or have kids or coastal cruise the Bahamas or some other reason, like, and that's fine. But there's another spectrum of boats that probably should be all diesel. Like we hung out with Skip Novak in his new 77 Pelagic. Like he's got 8,000 liters of diesel fuel on board. He needs it. He's got 14 guests that go to Antarctica. Like he has to get them home. And so like there's going to be a whole lot of people in between that hybrid's probably going to be a good solution for.
Yeah.
But there needs to be like some actual education around what these systems are, why there's differences between a diesel engine with a big alternator versus an electric with a parallel generator versus series generator. Like there's just so much information that's not out there, and all of it's coming from either electric motor manufacturers, which is tainted and biased, or from boat builders, which is tainted and biased.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff there that we're trying to like wrap our heads around and try to put content out around eventually, and also showcasing that yeah, we've been all electric and we're going to be all electric, but we're very unique in the sense that we do not have a schedule, and we do not care when we cross the Atlantic. Like we have no schedule at all. And so and we're not trying to get to a specific country. Like if the wind changes and we're on our way to, Grenada and we end up in Bermuda, like that's fine. Like cool. Like it just doesn't matter to us.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't originally plan to be in Norway when we sailed to Norway.
No.
We wanted to sail to Iceland directly,
Yeah.
but then we just never had the right window out of the Netherlands. So after a week and 2 weeks of waiting, we're like, well, let's just sail to Norway because the wind is there right now.
Yeah.
And then when the wind is favorable, we just hop over to the Faroes and hop over to Iceland. And then we made it to Norway. And then when it stopped raining, we realized that, well, let's just stay in Norway and coastal hop the entire way up because we'll never have the window. And then by the time we do, it'll be too late in the season anyway.
And like the further up the coast we went, we were like, maybe if we sail like another 100 miles up the coast, we'll get a better angle for when the wind comes in, maybe another 100 miles. And we were like, it's August. We're not sailing to, Iceland, or it was like end of August. We're not going there for like a week and then coming back. This doesn't make any sense. And we're in Norway, which is like, in our opinion, way better than Iceland anyway. But that's the thing.
Opinion.
But it's also like the unique situation we're in, and so it makes sense that we can stay all electric, and we just don't. Like we had a little gas generator on board since Svalbard, so 2 years or something like that, and we've used it a couple of times. We used it once in the Med when we had our friend Maya on board, and she needed to catch a flight. And we were just bobbing around between Africa and Spain, not doing anything. And we're like, okay, we've got 2 cans of gas. We can do 75 miles a day if we run it. It's 80 miles to the airport. Like we can actually get there in, 30 hours from now if we motored the entire time. And we did. And it was awful. We had the generator running on the bow. We had that thing running 24/7 for a day and a half. Loud. And we're like, and we could motor at 3 knots. Like this is so stupid. She needed a flight and we did it and we got it done. And so we see the appeal of a hybrid for sure. We've been on plenty of boats, like even when we go to the Odyssey Festival, we go like, we could just turn the diesel on and just motor. Like, why would we ever sail? It's so easy. It's like vacation.
Yeah. And there are other places in the world that if we went there with our boat, to be honest, that I wouldn't want to do it on. I would want to be hybrid. Like for instance, if we wanted to, do the Northwest Passage, we wouldn't do that in all electric because you kind of need you need that backup system. If we were to do Patagonia for like more than a week, if we wanted to actually explore Patagonia, because Norway on all electric, it feels remote, but it was actually quite easy because you had docks and marinas every 10 miles, so we were able to plug in and recharge every day,
and all their power comes from like water and wind, so we didn't even feel that plugging in.
But in a place like Patagonia, it's like Norway on cocaine. It's like Norway is basically the baby step to Patagonia because you don't have everything is remote there, so you kind of need to be sustainable, and you with the mountains you don't have a lot of sunshine. You might not be able to sail for weeks because of weather. So for that type of venture, we definitely want to be hybrid. So there's a lot of things out there that demands you to have some type of backup system. And right now, hybrid is the most reliable.
Yeah,
I mean the diesel hybrid is the most reliable. Unfortunately,
we've thought about hydrogen, and we've thought about like other types of backup sort of range extending devices. But at the end of the day, like if it's gonna be a backup system, it has to be diesel, because even in Norway and Iceland, we couldn't find petrol. Like we had to walk, to an actual gas station for cars and carry our jugs through town to find petrol because it just doesn't exist at most fuel docks. And so, not in a marina or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A marina, or like you can be in an anchorage anywhere and row to shore and give a kid on a bike $5 and he'll come back with a liter of diesel fuel. Anywhere in the world, they will come back with diesel fuel.
You get hydrogen.
Good luck.
From a country in Africa.
It's the only problem with like some of these systems, because at the At the last boat show that you went to, actually, Chris was showing me one which was like they had all the hydrogen tanks inside, and I was like, well, that's great if you're just like hanging out around like hydrogen plants. But like if you actually if you actually want to sail anywhere, that's completely useless unless you're able to like generate that fuel yourself, which
it's super inefficient, especially because most hydrogen comes from fossil fuel anyway.
Yeah, it's all pointless.
Like it's just like it's so from like the circle of the, what is it called, the energy efficiency between like the whole loop, it's like 97% inefficient or something like that. Like it's absolutely insane when the hydrogen's already in the tank and you can power your boat for way longer than you can on batteries. Cool. But if you zoom out a little bit, it's just insane.
It's where they're actually getting this stuff from as well.
Yeah,
exactly. When you get to a point you need to refuel your hydrogen system, like you have to order it from like a hospital or something like that, and not all hospitals have that. It's kind of impractical at this stage. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see the future where it becomes a reliable source and where you don't have that energy loss, so that you can actually create your own hydrogen while you're sailing. That would be amazing. But until then,
someday, at some point, like it's very basic. Like we did this experiment in like a high school chemistry class of taking salt water and putting electricity in it, and hydrogen comes out and oxygen comes out, and you can like it's super simple process in theory, but making it like last longer and making it energy efficient, and then storing the hydrogen, because you'd have to then compress it to some outrageously high pressure. Like it will be cool when that technology exists, and we will be the first ones to put it on our boat when it does. Because it'll be so cool. Just have like solar panels, and during the day you're like making hydrogen and then running it either through a fuel cell and storing it in batteries, or a fuel cell directly empowering your propeller. But it doesn't exist yet. We're keeping a very close eye on it, and it just doesn't exist yet.
It needs to come from the commercial market first, doesn't it? I mean, if you look at the entire industry and ports, marinas, all this type of stuff, it's all like, what do the big ships use and how do they operate? And then it works its way down from there. So like, if container ships start working on hydrogen, then they'll probably make those generators smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then they'll come down in price, and then we can afford them. It would be cool.
It'll probably start with military and then work its way down.
Well, they already do, don't they? I mean, they already do it, but we don't have access.
We've been on some pretty interesting phone calls, not under any NDA on these, but like there was a company out of MIT that was working on a fuel cell. They called it a fuel light cell or something like that.
Okay.
And basically what it was is they could put in any carbon-based fuel on one side. So like diesel, propane, petrol, alcohol, like anything that could burn, and they'd have to tweak it a little bit. They put it in from one side, and they would catalyze it. So it would burn, but it would burn like white hot. So it would create light. Okay. And then they had a solar cell, like a NASA grade solar cell with like 42 or 43% efficiency or something like that would take that light and convert it into electricity. And there was no moving parts except for maybe like a fuel pump, or you could gravity feed it. The only waste was a bit of heat, and you could like take that heat and heat your water or something like that. And in the thing was the size of a Nalgene bottle, like a 1 liter bottle, and it would create a kilowatt of electricity.
No way. How much does that cost?
So this was on their bench. This was on like a bench test.
This is the prototype
in their lab, and we were like, "So can we
put that on our boat?
Like, can you run them in parallel? Because like, can we just get 4? Like, what? Like, we don't care what it costs. We'll figure out some investor who thinks this is a good idea. Like, we'll find a way." And we were on 2 or 3 calls with them, and now they don't exist anymore, because the last call they were like, so because they were originally going to make them for like portable power packs for emergency services, and then they were talking about military units so they could run their radios and not carry like big batteries with them. And then in one conversation, they mentioned something about range extenders for drones, and then we didn't hear back from them, and they don't exist anymore, which means DARPA bought them, and they're putting them in drones now.
Yeah, they probably got sucked up by the Pentagon or something like that, I'd imagine.
Something like that.
So in like
it looks
10 or 15 years from now, we'll probably see this technology again, or somebody else will come up with something similar. But yeah, they sold it to the military or got a contract from the military, and I don't even think their website exists anymore. Like, it's just gone.
Yeah, that'll be a DARPA type of thing, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, they don't need to advertise anymore, so.
But it was pretty nuts, and we were just like, you mean it doesn't make sound, and like the excess is heat that we can like heat water with, like
a silent,
let's do that.
Efficient, renewable. Renewable in a way, and you can use it for multiple purposes. That sounds great. We'll get it in 20 years. They'll let us have it in 20 years once they played around with it.
It'll trickle down.
Yeah. That's cool.
Some random country in some place in the world is going to find one of these on a drone, and they're going to get that technology before we do.
That could be how it works.
Then they're going to sell it.
They're going to reverse engineer.
You just need to get it first. That's all. You need to be the one to get your hands on it first. So we'll talk about before we shoot off. We'll talk about BVI again, because we've sailed in the BVI together before, and we're going to do it again in a few months, which is going to be nice.
Yeah, we love.
And you're there in December as well, though, aren't you? You're taking some patrons there as well. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
To Nanny K.
Well, we are taking our patrons in February, actually, for my birthday. Yeah. It's going to be a week in the BVIs on 2 catamarans.
A little smaller.
Very nice.
Just 2 cats, but it should be fun.
It's going to be fun. But we love the BVIs. It's such great sailing there. The islands are so close together. All the islands are amazing. We've sailed the first time there with our boat, and then the Odyssey.
Yeah.
And then this will be the third and fourth time this coming year.
Yeah. No, it's such a great like cruising ground, because it's not too small and it's not too big. Like, in a week you can kind of see everything, but you can't do everything. And so there's always something to come. Yeah, there's always something to come back to see and do. But like, Greece was like, we were there for a week and we're like, we saw nothing. We saw a ton of stuff, but you zoom out and you're like, we saw nothing. Like, we
saw
like back for a year.
2 islands.
Yeah. Whereas the BVI is like, you can go around the whole thing, and then you don't really feel like you missed out on anything, even though there's 20 more beach bars that you can go and visit, and 100 more dive sites, and like other places you can go and see. But it's a really cool cruising ground, because it's just sort of the right size for what you need to do on a charter for a week.
Yeah, like, if you're going to be on a boat for a week or 2 weeks, it's actually like the perfect place. Well, it was the first time you went to Greece when you did Odyssey this year. Yeah.
We went there.
Surprisingly nice.
We got there, and then the whole time I was walking around, I was like, maybe we should have brought Uma to Greece instead.
People are nice.
Might have been easier.
Like, just enough English to speak. Like, not a ton, but like just enough that you can get by. The food is delicious and cheap. Everything was just so much less money than the rest of Europe.
Italy's great, but it's difficult,
especially on the island.
It's a very difficult place to get work done, because for one, they take holidays all the time.
Today the yard closed.
They love a holiday.
And it's closed until January 14th. A month the yard is closed.
And then we went to the office yesterday, and then we asked them, we're like, hey, so it said no access, like, but it's okay that we come into the boat, right? And he's like, yeah, but no work allowed. I was like, what do you mean no work allowed? He's like, yeah, I mean, you can come and check on the boat. And I was like, yeah, we'll come and check on the boat, right?
Well, you're not going to be here. So
we're not going to be.
We'll carry on working.
Where does that security camera see exactly?
Yeah.
But it's all the time. And it's crazy, because like, it's not, you can't Google those things, right? It's like, we wake up in the morning, we come to the yard, and then it's closed, and you wonder why it's closed. You Google it, nothing shows up.
You have to ask ChatGPT. You're like, why is things closed in Italy today? And it's like, oh, it's this random holiday.
It's
and we're
the
like,
saint of whatever. It's some
August 14th.
weird holiday.
Everybody knows the entire country shuts down on August 14th, except for us.
It's the same in Spain. Like, you have no idea, and it'll be like homage to some saint's cousin,
which is cool.
It'll something like that.
Put that shit on a calendar,
let us know,
please.
Yeah,
let us know. We can be aware.
We wouldn't have known. My friend Max is from he's from everywhere, Max, but he lives in Italy, and I mentioned to him the other day, because he's currently in a yard working on his boat as well, although he's on mainland, and I was saying, because he was saying, oh yeah, it's going to close down for Christmas, and I was like, yeah, the yard that Dan and Kika are in told them that it's going to be closed down for a month, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like a month, like December, January."
Right.
Like what?
They need time off.
Man, it must be nice to take a month off. I've never had a month off since I was like 12.
Imagine closing an entire business down for a month.
Yeah. Today was the last day here actually for them. And so they had like a little bit of a Christmas party going on at the office. And I was like, okay, see you next year.
Good thing we weren't planning to launch in December 30th.
Good thing we didn't accidentally leave the truck inside the marina. Otherwise, we'd be stuck here for a month.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes in the Med. Everything's very old school. So it's about, do they wake up on the 1st of December and decide that they all want a holiday? And if they do, then that's the business closed down, It's crazy. In Spain, it's the same thing. Like in the middle of summer, high season, the family that run the restaurant they want to take a vacation. So the whole thing shuts down for like 2 weeks. Like, what are you doing?
It kind of made sense. Like there's a big holiday in August. And apparently it was like, because back in the day without air conditioning, it's just too hot. So like nobody's at work and nobody's at school because it's just like go to the beach and hang out. It's too hot to be inside.
Which I get because honestly, like August here, it is really hot. But now with people with air conditioning, it's not an excuse anymore.
Well, that's why I think that siestas should be banned and made illegal, because that was the excuse. It's too hot mid. I mean, it might be down to laziness, let's be honest, but that was the excuse. It was like, no, it's too hot to work during those hours in the summer. It's like, you've all got AC now and refrigerators. Right. Let's not play these games.
Yeah, but you can never take away a holiday. That's like raising taxes. You can only add more holidays or lower tax. You can never like take away something that people have had for 40 years. It would be a riot.
That's very true.
If the holiday happens to fall on a Monday, then obviously you have to start on the Thursday before, so that you have a proper
take the Friday
off.
Proper 4-day weekend.
Monday. Oh yeah.
No, it got us. The one in August got us because that was when we were in like the middle of doing all of our bulkheads, and we didn't like lay out a CAD file and do like a cut sheet of like all the bulkheads we needed and exactly how many pieces of plywood. The lumberyard's like a 5-minute drive. And so we're like, well, we'll buy like 5 sheets of plywood. We can put that much on the roof rack of the truck. When we need more, we'll go get it. And so we were getting kind of low, but we were getting near the end of putting bulkheads in. We needed like 1 more sheet of 20 mil and like 2 more sheets or 3 more sheets of 12 mil. Okay. And we show up to the lumberyard and it was closed for 2 weeks. And we're like, fuck. We're like, that's it. We can't finish the bulkhead for 2 weeks. We're like, in August. And we're like, what are we supposed to do? Because that was like the project we like, it's fine. We have a bunch of other work we need to do on the boat, but like that was the thing we were like pushing hard to finish. And if we had known, we would have showed up on Friday and bought our wood instead of Monday. But we showed up on Monday and they were fucking closed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
you realize
it's just difficult. Yeah.
It's difficult. And it would be so nice if these businesses like put their accurate timings on Google Maps also. That's one thing that we completely disregarded. Like when you're in the UK, like if you go on a business on Google Maps and it says opens at 8, closes at 5 on Monday, they will, like, know it. Yeah. Whereas in the Mediterranean, like forget that. That's absolutely pointless, especially in the winter season. Like when we just arrived at this island here, we were like, oh, let's go to some restaurants on the north of the island. They're all open. And then you go up there and it's ghost town. There's no one. There's just like trash flying around in the wind. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, it's true, especially in the winter, because everything here is open, June, July, August, September-ish. And then October, November, everything's shut, which is hilarious. Don't tell anybody, but October, November is like the best time to be here. It's warm, it's sunny, nobody's here. Like there's like end of September and like everybody leaves. It's bizarre. There's a locksmith here.
It's nicest times.
Yeah, there was a locksmith here that we needed to get keys cut for like the spare key for the truck or something like that, or a lock. I don't remember what it was. And I looked on Google to find the hours, and it was like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, there's no way he's open. I'm like, I'm just gonna like drive by and just see him. Like it's on the way anyway. And I drove by and it kind of looked locked, but like I knocked on the door and he kind of came out and it was open and he like cut the keys. And I was like, out of curiosity, like your hours say like 2 a.m. to 6. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, well, I run the store by myself and I'm usually out like doing lock work for somebody. And so like, I don't want people just to show up here during my open hours thinking it's open and then find out it's closed and then they'll leave me a bad review. So I just put like random hours on there. If they want me, they'll call me. I'm like, oh my God, like, how are you still in business? Oh my God.
So
was
just
nuts.
a midnight locksmith, just
Yeah, it's nuts.
up with the
Like,
It's like
owls.
nobody can bother
like
me
if
then.
they really need me, they'll call me, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just a
totally
different way
cool.
of doing business, isn't it? I think if you're from like Canada or the States or the UK or something, you're used to everything being about commerce, where it's like a lot of people put convenience and comfort
Yeah.
above earning money, which actually is nice in a way. It's good that you have that balance, I suppose, in it. So yeah, it's just not convenient when you want to buy all the bulkheads for your boat.
Or when you want to get work done. Like a lot of times it
Yeah,
happened to us a few
Good
times
tools.
where we hire somebody to come and do something for us, whether it's to pick up, the 3 bags of trash that we still have with all of our bulkheads next to the boat. And then we call the company and they say, yeah, we'll be there on Monday. Then Monday they're not here. So we call,
Mm.
he's like, well, we have he's basically, the more he was talking, the more we realized that he thinks it's a favor that he's giving us to come pick
Oh
up
yeah.
those bags,
That we're
even
paying
though
for.
he's like
Mm.
his title is the job that he does is you pay him to come pick it up.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's trying to find reasons
Yeah.
why he should be coming and help you out. So it's still there. He still hasn't. That was like 6 months ago that we hired him to come pick it up, and he still hasn't done
Yeah.
it.
They'll get around to it eventually. Yeah, it is weird that. Like
Eventually.
I've noticed that like in Spain, like you'll go in some shops and it almost feels like you are annoying them and they feel like they're doing you a favor by
Yeah.
having a shop, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to be
By
polite to
allowing
them.
you to buy the food that they have
Yeah,
to sell.
exactly. Like it's a service that they don't need to provide, but they're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. So you should be really appreciative that they're open even. Yeah. It's different. That's all I can say about it.
It is
Every
different.
time we see like a new building being built, because we're in like the industrial district of Olbia, and every time
Yeah.
we see a new building going up, we're like, I wonder if it's going to be a Home Depot. Like, oh, it'd be so nice
If
if it was a Home
only.
Depot.
Climbing gym, that would
Yeah.
be nice.
Have you got
Yeah.
Leroy Merlin's in Italy? There is Leroy
Not
Merlin's.
on island. No, they're on
Oh, no, on the
mainland.
islands.
No,
Right.
otherwise it'd be great. No, there's two hardware stores here, and they're absolute crap. Like there's
Mm.
like we order everything online because like you can't get high quality tools or high
Mm-mm.
quality parts or stainless fasteners. Like there's just nothing.
It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy because, like, I mean, at least I don't know about the rest of Italy, but here in Olbia, we've been here for more than a year, and the more we've been here, the more I realize that it's so similar to like a third world country. It's like I see Haiti
Mhm.
here, only their
Mm.
streets are a little bit more paved, but
Yeah.
the vibe is very island like,
Yeah.
and the tools, like the equipment that you have available to you,
Yeah.
they're not high quality. Like you cannot get a lot of the things that you need here, and shipping is a pain.
It's on island.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
island, it has to get on a ferry. There's a lot of things that you can't get on a plane to get here. And the more we're here, like, wow, this is kind of like a Mediterranean Haiti.
It reminds us a lot of being in Haiti or the Caribbean. But it's
Also,
like
Italy has at least Olbia here has a big trash problem
yeah.
too. Like there's
All
trash
all of the
everywhere.
well, yeah, Sardinia is you know what we know one because Sardinia is beautiful, like to look at, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Food
yeah.
is good. It's not super expensive, it's cheaper than France, for example. But like just in terms of like a cruising area, we had a serious problem with trash. You couldn't take
Yeah.
trash anywhere. You couldn't take your
Nope.
dinghies to the beach, which was also well, you can, but it's naughty. You're not meant to. So we found that incredibly annoying. And then, yeah, on the few occasions where we took our trash into the marina, and then we went and put our trash in the things, we had people shouting at us actually saying,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to do that. And I was like, well, do you
It's
want me to leave it on the street next to
Yeah.
the bin then?
It's a
it's a
big
very
problem.
weird system.
And it's
Yeah.
not just for people that come here as like tourists, but we've noticed, like, because we live on a truck, right? So we camp a lot of places, and 90% of the places that we go, there's trash hidden places.
Yeah.
And they're not like your
Oh, yeah.
typical trash bag from a boat or RV. They're fridges and mattresses
Boats,
and
cars,
Like
entire
sofas and stuff.
cars, like
Shut
rundown
into the void.
cars,
Yeah.
and like construction equipment and things that
Yeah.
you can tell people live here.
Yeah. Like a
And they
dump
don't
truck
have-
load of the terracotta roof tiles just like
Yeah.
there.
Everywhere.
They just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have a way to dispose of their own trash, and so they get frustrated and they're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw it away anywhere I can.
Yeah.
And it's very
Mm.
sad because I mean it is a beautiful island, but it's so full of trash.
It's mostly
Yeah.
around Olbia. Like all the places that we go further inland, we don't see it as much. But yeah, just like around within like a 20-30 minute drive of Olbia, definitely. There's one spot very close to where we're at, and it's like a parking lot for the beginning of a hike. That's sort of like a touristy hike that's got like the billboard that explains the history. It goes up the super old pile of rocks on the top of a hill that's like 10,000 years old or something. It's like from this old sheep herders or something.
Yeah, and there's a water fountain at the base so you can like fill up your water.
And there's a refrigerator and a mattress in the middle of the parking lot. And it's been there for like 8 months. And like no one's gonna come take it. Like there's no service, there's no department, there's no government agency that goes around and cleans up trash. Like there's a volunteer organization that we've run into once or twice that come and clean up, and like within a week or two it's all back again.
They have to rely on charity to like move trash in.
Because there is technically a trash service, and like if it wasn't for the shipyard we're at now, we would have nowhere to throw away trash, because there's no place. We've been here for a year and a half. There's no place for us as non-Sardinian residents to have access to literally a trash can. They're not at gas stations, they're not at hardware stores, they're not anywhere you'd expect to see a trash can. There are like these dumpsters, but you need the special card to like open the lock, and you have to be a resident to get one. And so all like there's usually like this special dumpster, and then like all around it is just piles of trash. Either their key didn't work, or they didn't remember, or it's RVs or something. But there's no publicly available trash can on the whole island.
And the worst part is like there are facilities, even as a local, like there are facilities that you can take your trash to, but they also are completely allowed to deny the trash that you bring in.
We're super particular about
they can look at it and it's like, no, we don't want to take this.
Yeah. Or like
this
is so silly.
Goodwill.
It's not Thursday. You can't drop off plastic. It's only cans today. You know, it's some version of that.
Crazy.
Or your can is still wet.
Yeah, or it's not like separated properly, or you didn't take the label off the can.
From like the people who are stopping you from dumping that trash, like that's the same regulatory agencies that are, got to be connected to like the businesses that actually sell you the stuff. So it's like you can't promote as a country like, oh, buy the milk, buy the reuse the non-recyclable plastic stuff or whatever, or buy a sofa and then not give you anywhere to actually dispose of it. That's nuts.
Well, and it's particularly strange because like we did rent an apartment for a month when we first got here, because we thought we were going to be here for 3 months, and it was in the marina, and we're like, this is convenient. We can move all of our stuff into the apartment. We can rip apart the boat and fix it, put all of our stuff back on. We'll be good to go. And so there is a trash service here, and it's like every day of the week you put something different out. And then like organic waste is like twice a week or something like that. But you have to have it out before 7 o'clock in the morning. You can't put it out the night before. And as soon as it has to be back in the afternoon, and they give you like these tiny little bins, like maybe 10 liters, to put all of your, so like you've got one for plastic, one for glass, one for metal, one for cardboard, one for organic waste. And then somewhere apparently there are ones for like regular household trash, like all the stuff that doesn't fit into a recycled category. We didn't have one of those in the apartment we were at, so we're like, we don't know what to do with all the rest of this trash, so we still put it in the marina trash. But it was an issue because like we'd be flying out on Friday and the organics go out on Sunday, and it'd been 4 days, and so we'd have like 4 days worth of compost that we couldn't put anywhere, and we'd be back in 2 weeks. Like it just didn't make any sense. And but that's only for like if you have a residential address. And so the crazy part is Sardinia during the summer, it's all tourists. Like every ferry has hundreds of camping cars and motorcycles and backpackers and bikers on it. And there's a line from the ferry all the way out to the beach 20 miles away of camping cars in the summer, and they literally have nowhere to put their trash. Which is wild. But that's not, like Kika said, that's not the trash that we see around the city. Like the trash that we see is like refrigerators and
baby strollers
and mattresses and cars and boats and like construction material, like stuff that camping cars would never have. That's the stuff that gets hidden back in the woods where nobody can see it, which is definitely not coming from tourists, unfortunately.
And that's devastating as well, because it's like it's obviously it's not easy to dispose of, but there's, like you just said, an example, you've got like some beautiful mountain or some hill that you can go climbing, and that's like, I presume, like one of the nicest things you can do in that area to take a lovely hike,
drive down dirt roads. That's what you do here, is drive down dirt roads.
And you've got sofas and refrigerators
lying around. The worst was one of our favorite camp spots, because I think it's really out of the way of everyone. Like nobody ever goes down there. And we were driving back, and like halfway down the road, we noticed a new refrigerator that wasn't there the last time we were there.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, oh, it sucks. Somebody put a new refrigerator there. Like, fuck,
And it
And then
smelled.
and then like a couple of days later, we drove back again, and we realized that it was a refrigerator full of meat
Yeah.
that somebody
Oh
had dumped,
no!
and it was full of meat. And so for the next month, we couldn't go down there because it was like
It just
hundreds
stunk.
of kilos of just rotting flesh. And eventually, some animal pushed it over, and there's blood everywhere. It was smelled so bad.
It's still there.
The fridge is still there. It doesn't smell as bad now.
I think the meat is gone.
Yeah.
This has just been a podcast about shitting on Sardinia, actually, hasn't it?
Yeah, I start to feel really bad because
So to be fair, like we don't sit still very well. Normally, within like 2 weeks of arriving in a new place, like we need to go. We like the bus driver knows our name, or like the person like there's always some reason where it's like it's beautiful for a certain amount of time, but then as soon as you start to like hit reality, you're like, yeah, it's time to leave. We've been here for 18 months.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of reality.
We start peeling those onions like 18 months ago, and now we're almost at the core of everything. And it's
we should probably end with some good stuff. So we live in our Defender, and we can sleep on the beach every night. And there's 100 beaches that we can sleep on, and that's super cool. It is really pretty.
There's lots of good stuff to it.
Yeah.
And the people are nice as well, right? Actually, in Sardinia, we found. Well, we went from Spain, then immediately to Italy, so we thought that the people were a lot nicer than they were in some parts of Spain. So yeah, the people are nice. Pizza's cheap. It's good enough reason to go there, I think.
Sorry,
I thought
we're supposed to talk about good things.
Friendly people and cheap pizza. That Brits will go on holiday just for those two reasons.
Friendly
exclusively.
People for sure.
We've had better pizza, and
I think the best Italian pizzas we've had were all outside of Italy. Surprisingly,
no way.
Oh yeah.
Well, like
Italian pizza, it's very.
I
hope we don't have any Italians listening to this podcast.
I do get quite a few Italians listening to this podcast. Actually,
here's our
let's get started about food.
Here's our problem with Italian pizza. At least here.
Oh my god, this is terrible.
At least here. So
you're gonna lose some subscribers. Sorry.
Our personal preference for pizza is more than 2 ingredients. Like everything in Italy is like a carb and a red sauce and a cheese, and it just comes in different shapes and flavors. Like pastas, like lasagna, pizza, calzone, bruschetta. Like it's all bread
keep
and
it basic.
Same ingredients in different forms, right?
And so with pizza, it's like dough, red sauce, and a cheese, dough, red sauce, and a mushroom, dough, red sauce, and a sausage, dough, red sauce. And so like you get a pizza menu with 1,000 pizzas on it, and like they all are single ingredient pizzas. Personally, I'm a fan of like all the stuff on the pizza. Like I want this much stuff and that much bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
load it up.
we found 1 or 2 places that deliver pizza, which is great because it is cheap. It's like $8 for pizza, which is pretty good. And they have like the ability to add more ingredients, right? And so
so you can pay the extra.
We're gonna like make our proper pizza.
Olives.
They're like €1 each, so we'll take an $8 pizza and turn it into a $20 pizza like really quick. Well, yeah, we're like we'll do like bacon and cheese and like this and that, and all this mushroom. And so like you open up the box. You know how like some people say like food is made with love. Like you open up the box and you can just absorb the hate. Because you can just see like these fucking, and they just throw it all down in a pile, like in the middle of the
foreigners
pizza.
Ruining our pizza,
and they don't even cut it, and like you can just tell there's like fuck you. Like,
well, it's
hilarious.
It's 2 things, right? It's either they pile it up like an ice cream ball in the middle of the pizza,
hilarious,
or they split every ingredient has 1 slice. Yeah. So if you ask for a pizza with mushroom, onions, olives, and ham,
they'll give you an onion pizza and then a mushroom pizza.
Like a slice with onions.
They'll have 1 slice with onions, 1 slice with mushrooms, 1 slice with olives, and 1 slice with ham. So you have to physically change around everything before you eat it. But I think it's an Italian thing, to be honest, because we've ordered pizza somewhere else
in an Italian restaurant.
In an Italian restaurant, and it was in a menu, and they had all these ingredients, and I ordered it because anything that has mushrooms and ham, it's gonna be my thing.
I'll go for that. Yeah.
But then they separated, and I was like, I don't want all mushrooms or all ham. I want mushrooms and ham.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest fuck you we've ever seen on an Italian menu is like, Italians like will not put pineapple on pizza. Like it is like the thing that everybody knows about Italians. No pineapple on pizza. That's disgusting. That's awful. You can't do it. Like what an insult to Italian food, right? But they will put French fries on pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that actually. Yeah,
American pizza.
Oh, that's what they call American pizza. Oh,
and it's like red sauce with like literally like French fries on it. And they call it, and that's okay, but pineapple's not. Like, you've got to be kidding me.
Okay, so to turn this into a positive note, though, one thing that I really love about Italian food, though, so Italian food is very simple, right? It has its pros and it has its cons. Like, we wish they had more variety here because there's no good Chinese restaurant, there's no good Japanese restaurant, there's no good Thai or any other type of food.
It's the same in Greece, actually.
You won't find it. You'll just find Italian food.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, there's just so much of it you can take, but on the positive side, it is very good ingredients. Like you're not going to have weird chemicals or weird ingredients inside.
Oh yeah, you're not going to get sick from it.
Like it's it is healthy. So you can eat a pizza every day and you still feel like you're eating healthy food as opposed to eating
you don't get fat
healthy food in the States and you feel super unhealthy.
Yeah,
so, that's true.
Most of the ingredients that we get at the grocery store that we cook with are actually from Sardinia. All the milk and the cheese and the meat and the tomato, like all of it's from Sardinia.
So that's one of the things about when people say Italian food is great. I don't think that
for vacation it's great.
Yeah, I think that you get tired of it quickly, but it's great because it's so healthy. And that's one thing that I appreciate. So.
You do get that across the whole mostly around the Mediterranean. I won't say the whole of Europe because a lot of the farming comes out in the Med during the autumn. But yeah, the food is like great quality. Like the actual ingredients that you get in. Like my dad comes over here to Spain or Greece, wherever we've been on the boat, and he'll always say like, "Oh my God, this is the best tomato I've ever eaten. This is the best apple. This is the best orange." Yeah. And it's like, no, they just taste completely
There's a difference between something that's actually grown in a garden with fertilizer versus something that's grown in a laboratory with chemicals and shit.
I think,
that's literally the difference.
It was, I think I saw the difference in the milk when I wasn't, I like milk, but like when I drink milk from here, it's a completely different experience. It's like so
good.
It's raw, like MSG and regular milk or something.
No,
it's not. Tastes so good.
It's not raw. It is it's
homogenized, but it tastes like
it's like whole
food.
milk.
It doesn't taste like white water.
Yeah, it tastes like something like you would. It's like wine.
I
feel like I would drink my milk like I would drink wine.
Europe not like UK specifically, I'd say most of it is like semi-skimmed or like they've taken the fat out. And if you're going to start messing, that's what I'm saying. Like you go to a nice cafe and you get a cappuccino, they're not going to use like low-fat milk because that's what makes it taste all fluffy and stuff when they heat it up.
Why 5-star restaurants or whatever get good reviews is because they cook with butter.
Because they actually use real ingredients.
A lot of it.
That's the positive thing about Italy is they haven't fucked up the vegetables yet. So
there you go.
That's the sell. There's trash everywhere, but the food's organic, so enjoy it.
It's organic.
That's it.
Cows are real.
Listen, guys, thank you very much for doing another one of doing an annual podcast with me. That's very nice of you. You've done another one in a year too.
See you same time next year, right?
We'll still have a year left.